Moore, your Will DuPage, Kendall County and Chicagoland real estate agent and consultant with some predictions for spring 2026 real estate market. After almost 3 years of waiting, we anticipate that rates are going to dip below 6% for the first time. We're already starting to see some well-qualified buyers get interest rates below 6% by making a nice strong down payment, having a nice high credit score, and paying a little bit of extra points at closing. As we move further into the market, if things go the way that I anticipate they're going to, we're going to start seeing that be a lot more of a common number for many more buyers. This is going to open up availability, it's going to soften pricing, it's going to make the real estate market a lot more competitive. As interest rates come down, as always, we're going to see home values go up. What ends up happening is as affordability becomes less and less of a factor for buyers, you start to see more buyers enter the buyer pool, which means that unless we get enough inventory coming online, meaning enough sellers that are deciding they want to sell their home, if the inventory doesn't match the number of buyers that are stepping into the market, we start to have a classic supply and demand issue. And what that does is that drives up real estate prices. I anticipate that this is going to be felt the strongest among starter homes and small single family homes. When I say starter home, what I'm talking about are single family or attached homes, so townhouses, condos, or single family properties that appeal to a potential buyer demographic. Typically that's going to be at least 2 bedrooms. Your quintessential starter home is really 3 bedrooms with at least a bath and a half. So anything from a 3-bed, 1-bath house up to a 4-bed, 2.5-bath house, a little bit more affordable, typically in a strong school district, those are going to be the properties that are going to see the greatest appreciation because of that dip in interest rates. I anticipate that it's going to be mostly a seller's market. And the reason I say mostly is because it's going to depend on the segment that you're in. Again, those starter homes, those small single family homes, those are going to be squarely in a seller's market, especially the properties that are move-in ready with mild to moderate updates and upgrades. The reason we're talking specifically for the mild to moderate updates is because that's when things become both affordable and not scary. Again, our biggest pool of buyers tend to be first-time home buyers or baby boomers. We're really at the opposite ends of the spectrum right now with who's buying houses. First-time home buyers tend to be very overwhelmed by the idea of buying a home in general, let alone coming in and making major renovations, major projects. On the flip side of things, a lot of baby boomers are looking to downsize, keep it simple. They're not necessarily looking to tackle major projects. Also, a lot of the homes that they're looking for, again, because of supply and demand, are very expensive. So the idea of moving into those properties and having to do a lot of work isn't super appealing. Buyers are going to need to be strategic and competitive when they're working within this market. What that means is that they need to have a really good game plan of what it is they're looking for. They need to understand why those items are important to them, and they need to understand what is a deal breaker and what is not. What is a want to have versus a must have. Having that ironed out and crystal clear before you start looking for homes is going to make it so that when your ideal property comes on the market, you recognize it and you move quickly. Because of the likelihood of a lack of inventory, buyers are going to need to jump quickly when they see a property. It's not uncommon already, even in mid-February of 2026, to have properties with multiple offers in the first couple days of going on the market. What that means for buyers is that they need to think in advance and act quickly when they see a property. They're going to walk into a home, fall in love with it, and need to plan on submitting an offer likely that same day, or at the very least expressing their interest via their agent to the sellers so that the sellers know that there's people that are hanging out in the wings interested in the property. When we write the offers, buyers are going to need to be looking to maximize their specific terms. What that means is that I don't anticipate spring of 2026 to be the market that buyers are going to be negotiating hard on price, terms, conditions, or any of those items. I do think that we might start to see a return of as-is, escalation riders, and appraisal gaps. This is something that we really were leaning heavily into as a strategy with our buyers in 2021 and 2022 in order to differentiate ourselves amongst the other offers that a property was getting. So let's break those down and explain exactly what those are. First, as is. What this means is that you are going to purchase the property and not ask the seller to make any changes to it. You are still going to do your home inspection. We always recommend that you do a formal home inspection so that you understand what you're buying. And we're not going to come in and ask the sellers to make minor changes for things that we have found on a property. What this does is twofold. One, it protects your investment. For example, if you go in and you do a home inspection and the foundation is crumbling or there's a hole in the roof, you still retain the ability to continue the conversation with your seller or back out with no harm, no foul, no fault to you. Second, it allows you to stand out amongst competition. If there are 3 offers on a property and all of them are nearly identical, but you're already telling the seller, hey, I'm not overly concerned about minor challenges with the property because I recognize I'm not buying a new home and I recognize that there's going to be a couple bumps and bruises, you're going to help yourself stand out amongst the competition. What that does is that gives you a leg up on everybody else and gives you a higher likelihood of your offer being accepted. When we start talking about as-is, a lot of buyers start to get nervous and expect the worst. So I want to break down some of the most common items that we see on home inspections in Will, DuPage, and Kendall County that aren't as big of a challenge as they may come across. Number 1, we start to see ventilation issues. What this means is you will get flagged because the bathroom exhaust fans vent into the attic, as opposed to now the recommendation and the code is that they vent to the exterior. What this ends up doing is it can cause some moisture problems in your attic. Moisture in the attic is one of those things that if you can remedy the cause of it, meaning you can reroute where the vent is going from the attic to the exterior, it's a very, very simple fix for a contractor. You can completely solve the problem. If there were any issues from the moisture, let's say there was a small patch of mold in the attic, it's a relatively simple fix. It's one of those things that mold in the attic from a known cause isn't nearly as scary as mold in your walls from an unknown source. That's one of the big issues that we see. Second most common issue that we see in this area are GFCI outlets. GFCI outlets are required to be anywhere there is water. So your bathrooms, your kitchens, you'll see them required in garages. They just weren't the normal code when a lot of the properties in the area were built. So those will be flagged on your home inspection. Again, this is a very simple fix for a general contractor, for an electrician. I've even had quite a few clients be able to figure it out on their own with a little bit of know-how. That's something that as an as-is offer, we're telling the seller, we anticipate these things. We're not too concerned. We're not going to come in and ask them to fix them. Now let's talk about escalation riders. Escalation riders were another strong tool that we used in 2020 and 2021 in order to get our offers accepted. And what that means is you are writing a nice strong offer to begin with and telling the seller that we will beat any offer up to a certain threshold by a certain amount of money. So what this might look like is this. Let's say the house is on the market for $325,000. We may write an offer at $325,000 and say that we will beat any offer by $1,500, not to exceed $335,000. What this does is it gives you a lot of strength in your offer while simultaneously minimizing your exposure. When it comes time to negotiate this, if that factor does come into play, the sellers will provide us with a copy of the contract that is invoking the escalation rider. There's pros and cons to this, there's nuance, but that's the general gist of what that looks like. The other item that I don't anticipate will be seen widespread, but if rates come down low enough and inventory doesn't match it, could start making a reappearance, are appraisal gap waivers. So what this says is that as a buyer, you are willing to cover the shortage on an appraisal by a certain amount of money. I've seen this be as low as $1,000. During the height of the real estate boom, I saw it be as high as $50,000. Again, there's pros and cons to it. The biggest thing to remember is that you need to have the cash available for that. So let's say, for example, you're buying a $400,000 house, you're putting 10% down, and you want to offer a $5,000 appraisal gap waiver. That means that you need to have 10% down, so $40,000, plus $5,000 to cover that waiver if necessary, which means you need $45,000 in cash plus your closing costs. As always, none of us have a crystal ball, but when I look forward into the spring of 2026 real estate market, what I anticipate is a very strong seller's market, particularly for homes that have been well prepped, well marketed, and mild to moderately updated, specifically homes that are starter homes and small single family homes. And I anticipate that our buyers need to be ready to go and be ready to be hyper competitive as soon as we step into spring market, which typically in Chicagoland starts around the very end of February. As always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here to help. Have a great day.